Okay. So,
What if we're measuring intelligence the wrong way? And if you've ever felt underestimated in life, like I was about 10 minutes ago, um, and you didn't feel like you fit the system, TEDx, no. This story is probably going to change how you view your potential, and hopefully the potential, like me, in others, because we are sitting in a room, and you're all different, with wildly different experiences, right? Different skills, different failures, right? Different recoveries, and certainly different instincts. And yet, we often pretend that our lives can be understood on one page. A resume, a LinkedIn profile, and in Japan, a meishi, a name card. You know, executive vice president, well-known company. You know that reaction, right? Oh, vice president, oh, kakui, right? And that's where the story usually begins, but very often, that's where the story ends. I started work at 15 with no traditional academic background, no neat credentials, and certainly no clear roadmap. And at school, I struggled in ways that most people back then didn't quite understand. Reading was difficult for me, focus was difficult, and there were no labels like ADHD or dyslexia back then. In school, my school at least, the students who struggled the most were often placed in portable classrooms away from the main building. That's where we ended up. And some students thrived in this system, but others, like me, I grew up outside of it. So I didn't leave school with any qualifications or any confidence in my life. But I did leave with something else, a curiosity and a desire to find my own way in life. And I wasn't building a resume, I was learning the hard way. And over time, I learned things that you simply can't study for. Pattern recognition, judgment, and how to recover, like today, when things got very wrong, sometimes very wrong. Later in life, I was able to enter highly credential-focused organizations, but that was just because I'd done the work. And once inside those systems, I began to recognize something. Intelligence was being reduced to credentials. And this didn't happen by accident. Modern education and hiring systems were built for efficiency, grades, degrees, and standardized tests. And that makes people easy to compare, easy to sort, and easy to rank. And that works well for systems, but people are not systems. These structures were designed to manage large numbers of people, but that's very different from understanding human potential. And this is where the gap appears. Younger talent often feel judged too early, and older talent often feel dismissed too quickly. And somewhere in between, we lose people. Not because they aren't capable, but because we don't see their capability. And when that happens, we don't just lose individuals, we lose diversity of thought. Strong organizations are not built on identical resumes. They're built on different perspectives, different experiences, and different ways of thinking. And that's what makes teams resilient. That's what makes solutions stronger. But we don't just measure people, do we? We package them into job titles, degrees, employee brands, and LinkedIn headlines. And once someone is packaged, the assumption is we understand them. And we stop looking beyond the label. But sometimes that's exactly where real intelligence lives. And the cost of this isn't abstract. When capable people are overlooked, teams become weaker because we remove the very people who think differently. And when teams lack different experience and perspectives, decisions become fragile under pressure, and innovation slows. And I know this because I've worked for highly credentialed organizations where innovation was very slow. And when things get difficult, resumes don't think, but people do. And intelligence isn't just something you collect early in life. It's what you build across your entire life, through experience, through mistakes, and through recovery. And over time, those experiences become judgment, practical wisdom, and curiosity under pressure. Experience isn't the opposite of intelligence. It's how intelligence is formed. And that's what I like to call a lived IQ. The future doesn't belong to the most credentialed. It belongs to those of you who have learned, adapted, failed, and stood back up again. If we expand how we recognize intelligence, we don't lower standards, we raise them. Because our life experiences can become our greatest intelligence. And my favorite Japanese proverb, Nanakorobi Yaoki, fall 7 times, today I fell 8, and stand up a 9th time. Thank you. ありがとう。